Hey everybody, Mike here. So if you've begun doing your research on a whole house generator, I want to take a second to kind of answer some of the questions that I had originally before I made the purchase and investment. I'll put one of these on my house. Let's take a minute to go through my Generac generator that I purchased 2 years ago. I'll tell you what I've learned since I've had it. I'll answer some of the questions I had before I bought it. First thing you need to look at before you make a purchase this big, how big of a unit you actually need for your house. Most people who are just trying to operate maybe your furnace AC, maybe a freezer or two in your fridge, the main things in your house where you don't want food to go bad, you could probably actually get by with a little bit smaller unit than what I went with. With our unit, we live on a farm and I'm operating multiple freezers and I have quite a bit of money invested in those freezers and what's inside of them right now. So I opted to go with a 24kW unit, which is the largest unit you can get before you get into the more commercial grade models. Now, something else to keep in mind is this is what they advertise as a 24kW unit. It's 24,000 watts that this is capable of producing on up to 100 amp service it can provide. That number is only going to be if you're operating on an LP system like propane tank. Behind me here, I've got a propane tank and that's what it's actually spliced into and runs off of. If you're running off of natural gas, you're only going to be capable of using 21,000 watts just because of the nature of how natural gas runs versus propane. And that's going to be like that across the board on any model you decide to go with. Propane will always give you the higher number. Your unit comes with a lock, so you can't keep this locked if you decide you want to. And then on the side, you've got a status light. The green lets you know it's ready to run. If it's amber like mine is right now, it's up for a service interval. So for my case, I need to check my oil and get my oil changed on mine. It'll reset back to green. If it's ever showing red, there's something wrong with your generator. You need to either look at it yourself or have a qualified individual come do so for you. And when you open your lid, this is what you'll see. And what you'll be mainly concerned with is you got a breaker in the unit that's a 100 amp breaker, your LCD panel where you can run through your options, and then it's got USB and a fuse there as well. So familiarize yourself with your unit once you get it so you know what you're looking at. Front panel you see here pops off, and that's how you access your oil filter and other components within the unit. My oil filter has a heater built into it to help keep everything warm, which just helps with starting, especially during the cold winter months. If you live in a southern state, you may not need that option. With me, I'm in a northern state and we get below zero here quite often. Just one more thing to help with reliability when it comes to my unit. And that shuts back up like that. So it comes to the back side of the unit. It's pretty clean and simple. You got an auxiliary shutdown switch here if needed, and then your electric runs off the back over to your smart switch, which I'll show you here just in a second. And then in my case, I've got a regulator that taps in down there to my regulator for the propane going into the house. Now, another nice thing about this unit is it is able to hook up to the Mobile Link app, so you can hook this to your Wi-Fi in your house, and this will continuously monitor the status of your Generac unit. So as you can see here, this is the main screen. It shows you that it's ready to run and the last update that it's had for the unit. And it shows you the last status update it received from the unit. You've got a status history here, which you can run through, I think up to 50 different activities is what it'll store. You'll see here where it says exercising. So mine's set up to exercise once a week on Saturday at 11 a.m. You can set that up to be weekly, daily, monthly, and then you get to pick the time you want it to run as well. So I picked the time where I know I'm home most of the time and I can hear it start up and go. That way I know it ran. But it'll also show you too if there's a firmware update, and then whether it's ran due to a utility loss, you temporarily were down from your grid, the smart switch sensed it and it's able to pick up and start running your house for you from there. So this is an extremely handy app to have. It also shows you when you got it installed, how many hours it's spent protecting and how many run hours it's got, as well as your battery voltage. Check out this app and take advantage of that if you end up purchasing a Generac unit. This has been extremely handy for me to be able to monitor my system and see what I've got going on if you want it to run a different time frame. What's nice about this unit, if you pay for the premium feature, you can hit the exercise now button or update it from the app, which is extremely handy. Otherwise, you can go in here to your unit and do it from your panel and actually exercise it. Hit the manual button. And you can see that dude's running now. If I shut the lid, it'll be quieter. At idle, which is what it's doing right now, it's running at roughly 57 dB. So it's actually really quiet. And to give you an idea what this sounds like inside the house, I'm gonna run in there and on the other side of the wall and I'll show you what this thing sounds like running from inside the house. So this is in my son's bedroom. My kids' bedrooms are on the same side of the house as the generator. The generator is just on the other side of the wall for me right now. I'm not sure if you can hear this or pick this up on the mic, but I'll try to give you an idea. I'll be quiet for a second. It's just a real faint hum. I've only had it run a couple times, but it's not woke the kids up either time that I've had it run. My bedroom's on the opposite side of the house. We'll run over there real quick and I'll show you what it sounds like from that side. Now I'm in my bedroom, which is the opposite end of the house. I doubt this is even gonna pick up on camera, to be honest. I can just faintly hear it running. So this thing's extremely quiet. Like I said, and this is on the exercise. If this were to be running full, like with load on it and switched over to my actual breaker panel, it would go up a little bit. You could easily sleep through this unit with no problem. Now all we gotta do to shut it back off is just hit Switch it back over from manual, you just hit the auto button. That shuts it down, puts it back onto the smart switch. It's back to monitoring on its own again. Now the last thing I have to show you here is the smart switch, which is mounted right next to my main panel from my power company. As you can see, my installer did a really clean job on this. Now I'll go ahead and get this panel opened up to show you what's inside here. You just got this little thumb wheel. Get that undone. Then this panel pops off. There's your 200 amp breaker there. That's your utility service disconnect. So if I knock this out, that actually will kill the grid. You can test your unit and make sure that the generator kicks on. Once it senses loss of power from the grid, it will immediately send signal over to the generator. The generator will do a quick warm up to get it up and running. Then it'll switch over to your house and start powering your house shortly after that. So this is a pretty mindless system. You don't have to do anything special other than just keep an eye on it from time to time, make sure it's still doing what it's supposed to do, and watch your status light on the side of the generator. The generator and the smart switch do everything for you. It's just a seamless integration to your house, and then you don't have to worry about any pipes freezing, losing food in freezers or fridges. Pretty neat system. So hopefully I took enough time and answered all your questions that you might have about this unit. It's an incredibly big investment to make for your house, but I really feel like it's worth the peace of mind it gives you in the end, especially if you live in an area where you're vulnerable to power outages. The main thing, like I said earlier, was to make sure you get a unit that's going to be sized correctly to your house, or give yourself a little bit of room to grow. And if you're going to be putting this unit in yourself, make sure you're aware with all the codes of where you can put this generator so that you're following all the guidelines and rules for your area. I've been extremely happy with this Generac generator over the last couple years I've owned it. It's a great peace of mind, especially when the wife and kids are at home if I'm traveling for work. Finish has held up great. I love the way it looks coming down the road when I come home at night, knowing I've got this here installed next to the house. If you're in the market for a whole home generator, do some research on the Generac and see if it's the right fit for you. I think you'd be extremely happy with it if you end up pulling the trigger.